Good day, everyone. I am Mark Aldrin Maniano, and I will be discussing about communication planning or communication management. So, communication planning is about creating, distributing, and monitoring project information, learning goals, design a communications management approach that is tailored to stakeholder needs and project context. Select appropriate communication methods, the push-pull interactive, formal informal, or verbal and written. Align communication guidance with the project's delivery approach, predictive, adaptive, hybrid, and governance expectations. So, one of the goals is to design a communications management, not just any other communications management, but it must be tailored to the stakeholders' needs. So it is also used to describe how the project intends to communicate the right messages to the right people at the right time. It also has many methods, the push-pull interactive, the formal informal, and also the verbal written, which will be discussed later. So 1.2 PMBOK core concepts for planning communication. It tells that to choose the right communication method, such as the push method or one-way method, which includes emails, memos, status reports. Another one is the pull method, which means that the stakeholders retrieve what they need, repositories, intranet, libraries. It also has the interactive method, or what we call the two-way, which means interaction between the management and the stakeholders. Examples are meetings, demos, and conversations with feedback loops. So the rule of the PMBOK logic states that use interactive for alignment, conflict, ambiguity, and negotiation. Use push and pull for distribution and reference. Choose the right communication method. PMBOK describes information flow as essential to keeping the value delivery system aligned, including feedback loops from operations back to leadership and teams. Tailor communication to context. PMBOK highlights tailoring as a continuous practice. Use just enough process and artifacts to fit the project's environment and stakeholders' needs. So, by this, the planning ensures clear and timely flow of information among team members and stakeholders. It also helps avoid misunderstandings, delays, and errors. And of course, it includes both formal and informal, such as the reports, emails, and meetings, while the informal are the chat, quick updates, communications. So now we will be moving forward to the Scrum practices that implement communication planning. Scrum breaks communication planning into its structure. One of these is the sprint planning. Sprint planning is a collaborative session where the Scrum team aligns on why the sprint is valuable or the sprint goal, what can be done, and how it will be done. So, sprint planning, the main concept of this is it aligns the teams on the goals and tasks. Another one is the daily scrum. Daily scrum exists to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the plan. It explicitly improves communication and enables quick decisions. In the daily scrum, it provides short daily updates, what was done, or the next steps to be done. Scrum's emphasis on transparency, work must be visible to those doing and receiving the work, drives the communication by design approach. These guides will help the management on a more efficient and effective communication planning. So those are the PMBOK and Scrum practices. So now we will be discussing about the practical output, communication plan. Communication planning worksheet. Audience, stakeholder. Who needs information? Purpose. Align, decide, inform, escalate, approve, support, stakeholder agreement, and governance. Message content. The scope, risk, status, decisions, and next steps. The method. Push, pull, interactive. Format. Formal, informal, written, verbal. Cadence. Daily, weekly, iteration, phase gate. Tailored to life cycle. So, in this practical output, it is discussed the more on the WH questions or who, what, when, and how. So, in the audience stakeholder part, it tells us who needs information. Commonly, these are the stakeholders for the summaries, the team members for the task, and so on. So in the purpose, it tells us why we need to have communication plan. So commonly, the purpose is to align and to decide and to inform, to escalate, and to approve. So the message content or it tells us what will be communicated to the management or to the team or to the stakeholders. Mostly it discussed about scope, risk, status, decisions, and the next steps of the project. So the method, as discussed earlier at the PM book part, it has a push and pull and interactive. So the push is or are the one-way method such as emails, memos, and status reports. It is called one-way because it came from the management to the stakeholders. Meanwhile, the pull method or the stakeholders retrieve what they need. So the pull method discuss about the stakeholders getting what they need, mostly from the management or from the documentation such as libraries. And the interactive, which means discussion or interchange informations of the both parties, the management and the stakeholders. So now the format, it can be formal and informal. Formal such as emails or meetings. Meanwhile, the written and verbal are the chat between the two parties. The cadence or when, it answers the question when. It can be daily, weekly, or monthly, depends on the project goals. So the owner, who prepares and who sends, role clarity, supports collaboration, feedback loop, how will you confirm understanding and satisfaction, storage, where is it documented for full access, knowledge, data assets. So the owner, who prepares and who sends. Who prepares mostly are the project management team, and the one who will it be sent to are the stakeholders. Feedback loop. How will you confirm understanding and satisfaction? It must be also stated and satisfied the part that both parties understand the project. So communication is done by both parts. In the storage part, where is it documented for full access? It will be further discussed in the slides. So to summarize the communication planning part, it matters because without proper planning, people miss important updates, discussions, and decisions get delayed. Confusion leads to mistakes, but with proper communication planning, everyone knows what to expect. Information flows smoothly, and this leads to fewer misunderstandings. The PMBOK guide earlier makes it ensures that information flows clearly, efficiently, and to the right people. So, this whole discussion simply means that the right message, the right person, the right time, and the right method will ensure proper and effective and efficient communication planning. That's all for this part. Thank you.
Good day. So, for this topic um, of the communication and stakeholder management, we are going to discuss the importance of stakeholder management. So, our goal is to identify and analyze stakeholders systematically, build an engagement strategy that adapts over time, and use Scrum's roles or events to maintain stakeholders' collaboration and feedback. So, um, first of all, let's go to the stakeholder engagement as a structured life cycle. So, in PMBOK, or the Project Management Book of Knowledge, stakeholder performance domain frames engagement as an ongoing work. Stakeholders change their power or interest changes, and strategies must be monitored and updated. So, this pertains to the life cycle engaging with stakeholders. Stakeholders can or may change their interests and decisions throughout the life cycle of a project, and their positions and power may also change drastically. So, what this means is that um, the stakeholders are very volatile. They can change over time, and we need to have a strategy towards those instances that are not predictable. Um, it's also very important that for the project handler to monitor the stakeholders and update their approach towards them. So again, stakeholders are very volatile. So as a project handler or the one that manages the project, in we need to approach them in various different methods, various different strategies, so that we can adapt to any changes that may happen during the project lifecycle. So, um, as a structured life cycle, um, Pambok outlines steps for effective engagement, um, and that is to identify, understand and analyze, prioritize, engage, and monitor. So, as for that, what does that mean? First, we need to identify the stakeholders. This is to effectively engage with our stakeholders, or rather, to effectively engage with our stakeholders, we need to know them until the end of the project. They may be identified at the beginning, during, or in the latter part of the project lifecycle. This also ensures that people involved in and with the project are identified, categorized, and met with certain expectations and approach. So this will be on the latter part prioritization, but let's continue. This also affects decision making when the project should proceed, hold, or be scrapped. So identifying stakeholders is very crucial for the project. Um, as this or as stakeholders also um, carries the weight of the decision making towards the project. Um, some stakeholders may be against the project. Some may be overly maybe overly positive with the project, and maybe too much engaged with the project as well. That leads to major project changes or major project decisions that may hinder its progress. So we really need to identify those stakeholders and uh, check our approach towards them. So, what to do when identifying stakeholders? First is to document the stakeholders. So, again, we need to identify them, and these must be documented so that for our team, we know what type of approach that we need to do towards that stakeholder, and also check if that stakeholder has um, the power to decide when the project will move forward. We must also know their part in the project. So again, um, decision making, finances. We need to know what that stakeholder um, carries in the project, and then plan the approach. So, do we need to um, do we need to be more engaging with them? Do we need to have a push and pull method towards them, or do we need another strategy to have the stakeholders hesitation be met, or rather at least be lessened, so that the project can be a success? So um, then afterwards, um, under- we will go to the understand and analyze. So once the major stakeholders have been identified, we should start thinking about the impact of these stakeholders have on the project. A couple of questions as an example would be, what could they impact in the project? What is their reaction to the project, and what are their expectations? And when you think about those questions, you will also come up with strategies to approach them and gain their support. So just like for an example, um, we we previously had a very um, hesitant stakeholder in our project that is always that is very hesitant with the again project itself, because it's a lot of work. It needs approvals from all the from the clients and our company as well, and it's just a lot of work. So what we did is we made a presentation about the advantages of the project. Though he was hesitant, we also asked him what are the hesitations that he or she sorry, not he or she, it's a he, that he is thinking of. And then afterwards, once he explained all the hesitations that he had, we took note of that, and we ended the meeting, then come up with a strategy to uh, solve those hesitations, so that by the next meeting we are prepared to give these solutions for his hesitations, and also ask him um, about his perspective on how to solve them. So with those kinds of questions, um, we can understand the stakeholders' point of view and have them like a major asset towards a project instead of being the being the hindrance for the project. So when coming up with a strategy or approach, it must also be justifiable and grounded towards the project. So again, it must be justifiable, not just like a promise, um, that not just like a promise that we overachieve something for that project, then afterwards when we hand over the project it's underwhelming. It needs to be justifiable. It needs documentation, expectations, pros and cons, um, and it should be um, approach, or rather it must be done towards the specific goal of the project, not just the interest of one stakeholder or one major stakeholder. So with that in mind as well, um, just a side note as well, we cannot always agree with the stakeholder. Again, being justifiable, it needs to be grounded on the project and what it can achieve, not just what it can overachieve, and having having that with low expectations as well. So next is prioritize. Now that we have identified, understood, and analyzed the stakeholders, we need to list them based on their priority of the project. So this means that not all stakeholders have the same power, interest, or effect effect towards the project. Some stakeholders may be low, like for example users, and then high stakeholders like project managers, CEOs. They need to be prioritized higher since they are the ones that are financing or making decisions for the project. So it's also very important to know their impact so that the team can focus on the important tasks that will push the project forward rather than catering to every stakeholder that would waste resources. So again, in line with prioritization, we also need to know um, who to focus on and who can we approach for the project to move forward instead of catering to every stakeholders that will just our waste precious resources and time, and can may or break the project itself. Then afterwards, the most crucial part, after we have identified, understood, analyzed, and prioritized all of these stakeholders, we need to engage those stakeholders. As we now, as we now have the list, we can now proceed to talk to them about the project. Again, communication is very crucial in a project, and major stakeholders should be the first ones to be approached about the project. Not all stakeholders have the same agenda and acceptance towards a project, and some may look like a low priority stakeholder but can be a major one once their hesitation has been met. So again, with my example earlier about our one of our stakeholders um, being hesitant towards a project, we also need to engage with those that are hesitant towards our project and be a positive asset towards the project. So that means that um, we need to interact with them, um, check what are their hesitations, know their pros and cons towards the project, and then um, and then what are their opinions or suggestions towards the project that can be a a solution to other problems that we have, and also have those discussions be heard so that the stakeholders will have more positive um, more have or more of a positive light towards the project itself. So with that in mind as well, keep in mind that it needs to be ethical as well. When engaging with stakeholders, we need to be ethical towards our engagement with them, and not just be like uh, doing violations towards our company policies. So, like for example, bribery, which is very common with companies that are pushing for projects. We as They are common, but they are not ethical. So we need to find ways to engage with them and get their support without violating our company policies, or at least our moral code around. So, um, like for example, we do um, uh, for example, we do have our manager that is hesitant in promoting our um, junior uh, junior employees, since since they do not have the specific requirements for the promotion. But what we did is that we engaged with our manager and presented data that they are doing very well and are capable of being promoted to regular, or let's just say a higher position within our team. So upon uh, upon presenting all of those data and facts with our managers, uh, they eventually decided to promote our junior team to a higher position, or our regular to a regular position. And yeah, they afterwards they were able to be regularized. um, with that in mind, it's not just briberies that, or rather, unethical methods that can be an approach towards a specific goal. Um, you also need, or rather, we can also do facts, and also um, ask their hesitations so that we can proceed with what we want to achieve, rather than, yeah, again, unethical methods. And last is to monitor our stakeholders. So it doesn't just end with uh, it doesn't just end when we have our stakeholders support. When rather, when we manage our stakeholders, we also need to monitor them so that we can remain positive. Rather, we can remain their positive output, rather positive light towards our project. It's not enough that it's not enough that um, we engage with them on a regular basis. We also need to know what are their needs, or rather, what are their needs towards a project in a weekly basis. So that we will know what to adjust and what to do during the project. um, predi- Predictive approach is never enough for engaging and monitoring our stakeholders. We need to adapt towards their ideas and also their um, decisions, so that when when a sudden change arrives, we are prepared on what to do towards those projects, or towards those decisions. Uh, and again, stakeholders' perspectives can change over time, and those will lead to replanning and major problems for the project. So, again, um, stakeholders are very volatile. Today they may be agreeing with you, then the next week they may have changed their minds. So we need to be prepared and adapt to those kinds of situations. Uh, yeah. It's always a good idea to have a frequent evaluation to measure overall satisfaction of the stakeholders. So what that means is that we should always check with them and see what are their um, opinions, suggestions, hesitations towards um, our projects, and have it documented so that we can have at least a um, at least a uh, strategy, or um, at least a data of what our stakeholders are actually expecting of our projects, and not just guess what they are um, expecting. So, as for that, Pembroke also stresses that analysis can be sensitive and should be handled carefully or with confidentiality. So that means as well that all the information that we got during the understand um, identification of stakeholders, um, it should be handled with confidentiality, as um, these data may or break the project itself. So next is effective engagement with stakeholders. The principal emphasis the principle emphasizes proactive engagement, relationship building, and two-way communication as a path to successful outcomes and customer satisfactions. So again, engagement, communication, it needs to be done with the stakeholders so that we as project handlers, or a part of the team that handles the project, will know or will be updated on what they want with the project itself, and what can we suggest, or at least deny, for a lack of a better term, uh, of deny their suggestions, because again we also need to be grounded uh, with our projects, and it needs to be justified as well. So next is built-in stakeholder engagement mechanisms. So these are scrums. Scrums define stakeholder collaboration as part of the scrum team's accountability for project-related activities. Key engagement levers: product owner, which is the one accountable for maximizing value and communicating the product goal and backlog. And backlog represents many stakeholders' needs, either which represents stakeholders' needs. Sprint review, Scrum team, and stakeholders inspect what was accomplished and adapt to do what to do next. It to what to do next. It is a working session, not merely a presentation. And also increment delivery. This may occur during before or after sprint. Sprint review is not a gate to release. This enables sprint and stakeholders value and feedback. So, as per this one Scrum, from my experience as well, uh, these are very um, uh, adaptable approach towards a project, especially on an ongoing project that needs customer feedback. So the product owner is responsible for um, again maximizing value and communication of the product. So he or she will be the one that will do the approaching towards the clients as well. What are their personal feedbacks? What are their goals that made them choose the project? Or at least be the ones that will push the project forward by um, expressing their hesitations and also their suggestions. Sprint review, that's gonna be like a weekly or bi-weekly review of what was accomplished during the sprint. During the sprint. So sprints are usually, depending on the company, sprints are usually 1 or 2 week, um, 2 week, 2 week durations where um, all the projects are prioritized from major to minor, and then all the major projects will be done first, and if luckily the major projects will be done early, the minor projects will be done as well. So it's not a full delivery of everything. um, it can be delivered in increments. So again, if it's a major project, it can be delivered like the first half or second half, depending on the agreement. But in the sprint, it it is okay to have it delivered incrementally. Um, full delivery um, is the optimal choice. But if it can't be done, it can be done in increments. So, and lastly, stakeholder tools that you should master. So, stakeholder register. So, just like identifying, understanding, and prioritizing, we need to document them. We need to track the name or group that is involved in the project, their role in the project, their interest, influence, preferred channel, expectations, risks, current sentiments, and engagement actions. So again, we need to document all of those so that we can have, or we can plan an approach for that specific stakeholder. Um, and we need to come up with an engagement strategy for top stakeholders, or rather for the major stakeholders. We need to engage towards our objective, which is their support, which is their support and positive feedback. If there are gonna be oppositions up to of the project itself, we need to neutralize them. So again, hear their hesitations, approach them with caution towards the project, and at least, or not at least, and have them um, give solutions so to their hesitations, so that we can also check within the team if they are justifiable. We also need to clarify the scope of the project so that every stakeholder will have a clear vision of what the project is for. Interaction methods that can be interactive, so a one-on-one approach, or a push and or pull approach, which is, for a push approach, is gonna be an email, anything that we can push towards the client, or no, not the stakeholder or pool, which essentially means the stakeholder can pull data from a source that we have given them. So, like for example, if our project is already running, they want a full data of the last month. They can do a they can just extract it from our project. Uh, and then cadence tied to deliberate approach, iteration versus phase gate. So as for this one, we iterate uh, the the delivery of it. So like for pay, it's gonna be like increments, and then for phase gate, that's gonna be delivered in phases. And lastly, success indicators. This is gonna be agreement, satisfaction, and rather, and reduce disruptive changes. So, um, these success indicators um, are documented positive feedback towards our stakeholders. Um, we need to document them as well so that we can review them uh, when the time comes that they have any hesitations towards our project, and plan a strategy, getting them back to a supportive stance towards the project. So that's about it.
Good day, everyone. For my part, I will be discussing reporting under communication and stakeholder management. So first, let's define what is reporting. Reporting is not just about sharing updates. It is about ensuring that right stakeholders receive the right information at the right time so they can make informed decisions at the right time. For example, a project sponsor may only need a monthly summary of project progress and risk, while a project team lead may need a daily updates to coordinate tasks and resolve issues quickly. So before anything else, let's start with the learning goals. First is design First goal is design reporting that supports decision and transparency. Reporting should not should definitely should support decision making and transparency. This means we don't report just for the sake of compliance. We report to help stakeholders act. For example, if a stakeholder from management sees a delay risk, they should immediately understand whether it affects cost, timeline, or scope. Second goal is to choose reporting artifacts. We choose the right reporting artifacts or reporting format depending on the stakeholder. For example, our executives prefer high-level dashboards with key metrics, while team members and technical stakeholders prefer detailed reports or task boards. Third goal is use Scrum inspection points. Using structured communication points like Scrum events helps ensure information flows properly. For example, feedback from stakeholders during sprint reviews can directly influence the next planning decision. Don't worry, because we will take a closer look to these Scrum inspection points later. So let's proceed. According to PM Book, reporting is an artifact family. It is considered an artifact family that supports communication with stakeholders. Some examples listed here are status progress, dashboard, review stage, surveys, and issue and risk register. So for status and progress, example of these are a weekly update sent to the client showing completed deliverables and upcoming tasks. While for dashboard is a real-time dashboard shared with management showing progress, project health indicators like cost, schedules, and risk. For review and stage gates, um, stakeholder approval meeting before moving to the next phase. For survey is gathering feedback from end users or clients about their satisfaction with deliverables. Issue and risk register. For example, tracking concerns raised by stakeholders such as delays in approval or budget. These tools ensure stakeholders are continuously informed and engaged in the project lifecycle. Later, we will deep dive into what I mentioned, yung stage gate structure reporting para mas lalong maintindihan. Deep dive lang tayo about doon sa nabanggit ko kanina, yung stage gate model. Let's discuss kung ano yung importance niya or yung role niya sa communication and stakeholder management. Now, this stage gate model is a structured process where a project is divided into gates of work. Tapos yung stages na yon, separated siya by decision points called gates. At each gates, stakeholders such as project sponsor, managers, and clients review the progress of the project and decides whether it should continue, revise, pause, or stop. So, si client, si manager, si sponsor, they are so-called gatekeepers. Kasi they are actually going to decide if the project should continue, stop, revise, update, and so on. This is important because it ensures that communication is not just a one-way reporting, but a continuous feedback process between the project team and the stakeholders. For example, before a project moves from planning to development, stakeholders review key information such as requirements, budget risk, and expected benefits. Based on this, they decide whether the project should proceed or not. In this model, stakeholders plays a critical role as decision makers or called gatekeepers, katulad na sabi ko kanina, because they are responsible for evaluating reports and ensuring that the project aligns with business goals and expectations. For example, a project sponsor may approve funding at one stage, while a technical manager may evaluate feasibility at another stage. This stage gate model improves communication by creating structured checkpoints. Kasi instead of having unclear or informal updates, yung communication nagiging siyang formal, documented, evidence-based, and decision-oriented, which reduces misunderstanding and ensures that all stakeholders have a shared understanding of the project status before moving forward. In summary, the stage gate model strengthens communication and stakeholder management by ensuring that every major project decision is supported by clear reporting and active stakeholder involvement at every stage. Now, let's look at Scrum. In Scrum, reporting is built into communication and transparency with stakeholders. For example, the daily Scrum allows the team to quickly identify blockers that may affect stakeholder expectations, such as delayed client feedback or unavailable requirements. The Sprint Review is a direct communication event with stakeholders where the team demonstrates progress and stakeholders provide feedback, such as requesting changes in design or priorities. Scrum artifacts like the product backlog make stakeholder requirement visible so stakeholders can see what is planned, in progress, or completed. Scrum emphasizes continuous communication with stakeholders instead of waiting for formal reports at the end. It also highlights that tools like burn down charts can help stakeholders understand progress visually, but direct communication and feedback are still more important. To make reporting practical in stakeholder management, we can use a one-page weekly status report that is easy for stakeholders to understand. For example, for a system development project, the report may include the project or sprint goal so stakeholders understand the purpose of the work, a project summary so they immediately see what is completed or what is still ongoing, key risks or issues such as delays in stakeholders' approval or dependency on external teams, decisions needed from stakeholders such as approval of requirements or budget changes, stakeholders' feedback collected during meetings or reviews, and any scope changes agreed upon with stakeholders. This format ensures that communication remains clear, structured, and useful for both technical teams and non-technical stakeholders. In summary, effective reporting in communication and stakeholder management is not about sending more information. It is about sending the right information to the right stakeholders at the right time.
Hello everyone, I'm Emmanuel Mejia and I will be discussing the documentation section of our topic communication and stakeholder management. For section 4.1 learning goals, define what documents artifacts are essential and why. Governance, traceability, and knowledge transfer. Keep the keep documentation, and I quote, just enough, end of quote, and continuously updated through the project. Use Scrum artifacts and commitments to create shared understanding and transparency. So, why do we need to document our project? So, the goal is not to create a library, but to ensure governance, traceability, and knowledge transfer. For PMBOK perspective or project management body of knowledge perspective, documentation serves as organizational process assets. It provides the data and knowledge assets, metrics, prior artifacts, and lessons learned needed to satisfy regulations and internal policies. For Scrum perspective, documentation is about transparency. It creates a shared understanding so that the team and stakeholders are looking at the same reality. The just enough rule, both frameworks suggest that documentation should be tailored. It must be, and I quote, just enough, end of quote, to provide value and should be updated continuously rather than treated as a static one-time task. For section 4.2, PMBOK documentation supports governance, learning, and compliance. PMBOK describes internal environment assets such as governance documentation, policies or processes, data assets, document libraries, metrics, prior artifacts, and knowledge assets, lessons learned. It also emphasizes that documentation needs vary based on organizational requirements, regulation, and delivery approach, and should be tailored. So, for governance documentation, so establishing the rules like policies and processes. For data assets, metrics and document libraries that allows for evidence-based decision making. For knowledge assets, capturing the lessons learned so the organization doesn't repeat the same mistakes. For section 4.3, Scrum documentation through artifacts and commitments. Scrum defines three artifacts designed to maximize transparency: product backlog, sprint backlog, increment, and each has a commitment that strengthens transparency and focus. For product backlog, we have the equivalent commitment product goal. For the sprint backlog artifact, the equivalent commitment is sprint goal. Then for increment uh, artifact, the equivalent commitment is the definition of done. For product backlog, the documentation purpose is the single source of truth for what needs to be done. For sprint backlog, the documentation purpose is a real-time, visible plan for the current work cycle. For the increment, the documentation purpose is a physical proof of quality and completion. For section 4.4, practical output, minimum documentation set. The strategy and alignment, vision and objectives. PMBOK emphasizes shared vision, Scrum uses product goal. For stakeholder and communication, stakeholder register and analysis notes kept appropriately confidential. Communication plan, channels, cadence, owner's storage. Delivery and delivery and quality. Requirements, scope artifacts, PMBOK planning, Scrum backlog items, definition of done, acceptance criteria, Scrum transparency on quality, control and learning, issue log, risk register, change log, PMBOK emphasizes registers as checks, lessons learned notes, continuous improvement and knowledge assets. Retrospective outputs, Scrum retrospective plans improvements.
Good day, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're talking about something every project manager does every single day, and that is to communicate. Quick icebreaker. By a show of hands, how many of you have been in a meeting this week that probably could have been an email? O, di ba? Asa meeting kayo pero iniisip nyo, ba't hindi nila ito in-email, di ba? Or, sino naman sa inyo ang nag-send ng email pero later on nag-regret? Sana nagpa-meeting na lang ako. Di ba? Ang hirap. It's a dilemma. And that's exactly why this session exists. Today is about meetings, messages, and making things move. So communication actually leads to action and not confusion. So let's start with what will you walk away with by the end of today. By the end of this session, you'll have four very practical takeaways. First, you clearly understand the four core types of project meetings and when to use each one. Next, you'll know how to create meeting agendas that will keep people focused and on time. Then, we'll look at how AI tools can help summarize meetings and capture action items. And finally, you'll learn how to communicate clearly with stakeholders so everyone stays aligned. The key takeaway is this: you'll know exactly which meeting to call and how to make it productive. Now, let's talk about why communication matters so much in projects. Why communication makes or breaks projects. Think about a project that went wrong. Usually, it's not because people didn't work hard, it's because something wasn't communicated clearly. Look at these numbers. 57% of projects fail due to communication breakdown. That's more than half. Managers also spend about 4 hours a day in meetings. If those meetings are unclear, that's a huge waste of time. But here's the good news. Projects see up to 30% productivity gain when action items are clear. Imagine getting almost a third of your time back just by being clear. So how do we communicate more intentionally? It starts with understanding the four essentials project meetings. These four essential project meetings. Every project runs on four key conversations. First, the project kickoff. This is where alignment begins. Second, status updates. Your regular check-in to keep things moving. Third, stakeholder meetings. Use when decisions or influence are needed. And finally, retrospective, where learning and reflection happen. Each meeting has a specific purpose, and problems happen when we mix them up. And now, let's start at the beginning with the project kickoff. Project kickoff. A project kickoff is the official starting point. This is where everyone aligns on the why, the what, and the who. Imagine organizing a charity auction. Before sending emails or assigning tasks, you bring the right people together and set expectations. A good kickoff includes the team sponsors and key leaders. You define goals and clarify roles and build excitement from day one. The key takeaway is this: a kickoff isn't a formality, it's prevention. Once the project is running, you need a steady heartbeat, which is status updates. Status update. Status updates are your project's heartbeat. Think of them as a quick team huddles. The biggest mistake is letting them turn into long discussions. Keep them structured. What's done, what's in progress, and what's blocked. Use this time to surface risk early and confirm next steps. Remember, status updates aren't about reporting. They're about moving work forward. And sometimes, though you need more than a team check-in, you need decision makers. Stakeholder meeting. Stakeholder meetings are strategic. They're about influence, expertise, and decisions. Using our auction example, if you need a famous artist donation, you don't bring that to a status update. You talk to the leader who has the connection. This meeting should be focused, prepared, and centered on a clear ask. The key takeaway is this: stakeholder meetings save projects when used correctly. Now let's take a look at how projects should end with a retro perspective. Retrospective. A retrospective is the project's closing chapter. Imagine your auction was a success, but without a retrospective, the lessons disappear. This meeting is where you celebrate wins, identify what you have worked and what didn't, and document lessons for the future. Retrospectives aren't about fixing mistakes, but also recognizing success. Now, let's check our understanding with a quick quiz. Quick quiz muna tayo before tayo magpatuloy. So, I'll read the scenario and you'll tell me which meeting fits best. Tapos, ito na. Your team just navigated big challenges. You gather them to discuss lessons and what to do differently. So ano siya? Retrospective ba siya? Stakeholder meeting? Status update? Or project kickoff? So pili na kayo in 3, 2, 1. Ang tamang sagot ay retrospective. So retrospective, pag binalikan natin siya, ito yun. Closing chapter siya. So, you just navigated big challenges. Ibig sabihin, ni-recall natin siya. Ginather natin sila para i-discuss kung ano yung pwede nating matutunan at kung anong pwede nating magawa ng iba sa dun sa previous nating strategy. Ngayon, number 2, you're checking on promotional materials and need to assign follow-up task. Napakadali nito. Ang sagot ay in 3, 2, 1, status updates. Yun. Ibig sabihin, yung regular heartbeat natin, kailangan natin lagi siyang ina-update para mabilisan natin siyang ma-fix. So, you're checking on promotional materials. So, kailangan natin mabilisang chat. Update natin si manager kung ano na nangyayari. Kung may nabili ba natin or hindi yung promotional materials. Number 3, a supplier may drop out. You tell your seniors leadership and propose a backup plan. Ayun na, nakalagay na. Senior leadership. Ibig sabihin, nag-drop out na siya. So, it's a given na yun na yung case or yung problem. Tapos, meron ka ng proposed backup plan. Ibig sabihin, ito ay isang stakeholder meeting. So, ito siya. So, nag-meeting na kayo kasi nga may problem si supplier, isa na siyang given, meron ka ng strategy para gawin. Ang kailangan lang mag-meeting kayo with your stakeholders. Then, number 4, you align your whole team on project goals before your work officially begins. So, you align from the word itself before officially begins. Keyword itself, officially begins, project kick-off. So, ito siya. Bago pa mag-start, kailangan mo na silang i-meet, kailangan mo na silang i-define yung mga kailangan gawin. Kailangan nila alam kung ano na nangyayari bago man lang nag-start yung project. Okay, kung nakuha nyo siya, good. 4 siya, retrospective, status update, stakeholder meeting, and project kickoff. Yun yung 4 project meetings. Ngayon, now that we know which meeting to use, let's talk about how to design them well. Hello everyone. So we're back. So for now, mag-recap muna tayo ng after nung quiz natin earlier. Uh, Balikan natin yung objectives natin. Balik tapos na tayo dito sa identify the core Yan, identify the 4 types of project meetings and when to use each. So we're done with that. Sunod na natin is scrap meeting agendas that keep teams focused and on time. So nandito siya. Um, uh, for sure, lahat naman tayo naka-attend na tayo ng meeting or tayo yung nag-organize ng meeting. Either way, alam natin and we're guilty na meron tayong mga nagawang hindi maayos before and after. And hopefully, after this discussion, uh, uh, may, uh, magkaroon kayo ng good habit on what to do and how to do it properly. So first, let me start with the bold statement that most meeting fails before they even begin. They fail because they don't have a clear and well-designed agenda. So today, I want to show you five simple but five powerful ingredients to turn an average agenda into an exceptional one. So let's walk through them. So number one, state the goal. Why are we meeting? What decisions would we make? Right at the top of every agenda, you must answer two critical questions. Why are we meeting? And what decision was we make? If you can clearly state the goal in one or two sentences, you shouldn't be having the meeting. This single line gives the entire meeting purpose and focus. So dito pala malalaman mo na kung kailangan mo lang i-email yung kailangan mo lang i-email to inform or to set a meeting to discuss and solve a problem. So number two, list the agenda items with time limits. Don't just list topics. List them with time allocation, specific time allocations. For example, quarter 3 marketing update. Instead, quarter 3 marketing update 12 minutes or 10 minutes. Pag meron kasing time limit, it forces discipline and they show that meron tayong respect for everyone's time and merong rhythm sa meeting. Sabihin may flow. Kailangan within this certain certain time na address na agad yung problem ng isang agenda. Ngayon, for that, syempre, we have to assign owners. This is one of the most overlooked but important elements. Kasi next to agenda item, kailangan you have to put the name of the person who will be responsible for it or who owns it. This removes the ambiguity about who is speaking and who is accountable for that section. Ibig sabihin, you are already assigning individuals for certain actions or certain projects who is responsible. No more awkward of who is taking this one. They have to be assigned immediately based on their skills, their expertise. Everyone knows their role before they walk into the room. Kung ikaw ay IT ka, you're concerned with the computer. Pag librarian ka, you're concerned with the books, the purchasing of the books, and so on and so forth. So share the agenda in advance. Send the agenda at least 24 hours before the meeting. This is not a nice to have. It is a requirement for respect and preparation. Maganda na people are coming to the meeting well prepared and they know what is being presented. Receive the agenda early. They will come prepared. They will bring the right data. They will already started thinking about the topics. The meeting becomes dramatically more productive. And number five, end with actions. Every agenda ends the same way with a clear action item. Kailangan pag nag-meeting kayo, mayroong output, may desired outcome or output at the end of each meeting. And they have to know it and they have to deliver it. Uh, who is doing what and by when. These are written down visibly before the meeting ends. Never end a meeting by saying we'll figure it out later. You are meeting to figure it now. The action items are entire reason why we had the meeting in the first place. So, there you have it. Great meeting starts with an agenda. Every great agenda contains these five elements. A clearly stated goal, a time agenda items, assigned owners, shared in advance, clear action items at the end. So when you follow this framework, yung lima na yan, you will run tighter, you're more respectful, you're significant for more effective meetings. The best part, it only takes 10 minutes to build an agenda like this, but it can save hours of wasted time every single week. Kasi honest to goodness, there are almost and most of the time, in every Filipino meeting, merong konting chismisan, may konting kwentuhan, at minsan, merong disagreements. So, dapat we just stick to this five elements in order for us to save time and to be more professional. Hello everyone, we're back. And for recap, uh, we finished with the five elements for great agenda. Now we're going to discuss the use of AI tools to generate meeting summaries and capture action items. So, gano'n natin siya. I-clear na natin siya. Tapos na tayo dito. So, dito na tayo sa slide 11. So, today I'm going to show you how AI tools can dramatically improve meeting productivity by automatically generating summaries and capturing action items. The idea is simple. Let AI handle the administrative task so we can focus on meaningful conversations and decision making. AI can support us before, during, and after meetings. And I'll walk through each phase. So before the meeting, let's start with what happens before a meeting. Preparation is often time consuming. AI can help by drafting a structured agenda based on the meeting objective. For example, if the meeting is about project updates, AI can generate agenda sections like progress review, risk, blockers, and next step. It can also summarize pre-read materials, reports, emails, or documents. So participants come prepared without spending excessive time reviewing long documents. And finally, AI can generate discussion questions to guide conversations and ensure the meeting stays focused and productive. So before the meeting ends, even begins, AI already saved time and improved clarity. So during the meeting naman, now let's take a look at what happens during the meeting. One of the most powerful features is real-time transcription. AI can automatically transcribe the entire discussion so no one has to manually take notes. It can also auto capture key points, identifying decisions made, risk mentioned, and important highlights. More importantly, AI can flag action item in real time. For example, if someone says John will send revision proposal by Friday, the AI recognizes this task, recognizes this as this task, assign it to John, and captures the deadline. This ensures nothing is forgotten and reduce misunderstanding. So instead of multitasking between listening and note-taking, participants can focus fully on the conversation. Alala ko nung time namin, wala ang ginagamit is paper and pen. Tapos kada line merong 01 something ganyan ganyan. 02 ganyan ganyan. Per line. So kailangan may namana-mana mo kung sino nagsabi, anong nangyari, sino nagsabi, anong nangyari. Eventually, nag-transition sa sound recorder. Tapos ngayon, eto na. Sa AI na tayo. Piliin mo lang, pa-transcribe mo lang. Okay na, gagawin na niya. Pwede mong isulat, siya na magpo-process. Pwede mong i-record, siya na rin na magta-transcribe. Pwede i-play mo na siya automatically. Anything, wala nang excuse. So afterwards, after the meeting, finally, AI continue to add value. It can automatically generate a follow-up email summarizing the discussion. It extracts and organize action items, assign owners, and list deadlines clearly. So tutulungan ka talaga niya na gawin na yung mga menial task. And for those who couldn't attend, di ba, syempre, yung iba naman, hindi naman pwede makatid lagi ng meeting. So, we can follow, the AI can create a detailed recap, ensuring everyone stays aligned. This reduce manual admin work and speed up communication. Ang dali na ngayon. Ang bilis, sobrang bilis. You have to take advantage of what we have as a tool, and kailangan na ng project manager talaga ang tulong ng AI. So, to summarize, AI-powered meeting tools help us prepare smart, stay engaged during the meeting, and follow up efficiently. By automating summaries and capturing action items, AI reduces administrative burden and increases accountability. Ultimately, this leads to better meeting, clear decisions, and improved productivity. So, let's take advantage of AI. Hello everyone, welcome back. So, right now, gagawin natin, since na-discuss na natin yung AI-powered meeting productivity, it's time na we put it into practice or exercise our mind for it. So, for example, yung uh, scenario which is you just held 45-minute project status update. 3 team members couldn't attend. Your notes are messy. You need to send a summary email to the attendees. Create a longer catch-up recap for those who miss it. So, bari dalawa yung hinihingi sa'yo. Short email doon sa naka-attend. Tapos, yung prompt na sunod, yung mas mahaba. Same notes, pero iba yung audience kasi hindi sila naka-attend. Tapos, may bonus. May bonus pa, no? You have to adjust the prompt if ever merong sensitive decision or sensitive data or sensitive na, for example, uh, merong certain line na dapat malaman nila or data na kayo-kayo lang ang makakaalam. Certain people lang ang dapat makaalam. So, ito kasi ay for AI prompt. So, ang ginawa ko lang ay yung isa. So, write a prompt. So, ang gagawin mo, first of all, meron kasi siyang 5-part framework para sa strong prompt. Yung una is yung role assignment. Sino ka? Ano ang ginagawa mo? Tapos, yung context. Anong nangyari? Anong nangyari doon sa meeting? Tapos, yung content mismo. Kung ano man yung na-produce mo. Tapos, ano yung gusto mong ipagawa kay AI? Tapos, dito ka na maglalagay ng specific task. Kung ano yung gusto mong gawin niya. Or rules. Ito yun. Ano yung gusto mong gawin niya at ano yung kailangan i-avoid. Ito yung parang, anong gusto mong mangyari, anong gusto mong gawin ko. Tapos ito yung detailed instruction. Tapos, ilagay mo lang yung output format. Kung anong gusto mo mangyari, paano siya magiging ma-deliver sa'yo. Text ba, ano bang output, sound ba, pixel ba, video, image. So, ganun. So, yun lang. Role assignment, context, specific task, constraints and quality standards, and output format. Ang trick dito, pag gusto mo ng prompt, ipagawa mo na rin kay AI yung prompt. Kahit informal lang yung sabihin mo, write me a prompt for blah, 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 blah. So, siya na yung magaganon, i-edit mo na lang siya. So, yun yung technique para mabilis. Pero, kung gusto mo na technical, gusto mo round about it, pwede mo naman siyang sabihin na let me fill out the necessary details. Tapos, siya na yung magsasabi sa'yo anong gusto mong role, tong context, anong gagawin, specific task, tapos kung ano yung constraints and quality standards, saka yung delivery output or yung format. Yun. Tapos, doon sa number 3, yung bonus, paano mo daw siya advance pag may sensitive decision. Maglalagay ka lang doon ng parang sabihin mo is acknowledge the sensitive topic directly or tell AI to be discreet, minimize detail, tapos pwede mo na siya sabihin na change the tone to neutral and politically sensitive. Tapos, use the phrase, assume this document could be forwarded. Could be forwarded. Ibig sabihin, ina-assume natin na lahat pwede doon sa document na yun. Hindi siya exclusive. Tapos maglagay ka rin ng disclaimer at the bottom. So, yun. Yung mga ganun. Yung mga ganung instances. Ano pa ba? Pwede ka rin magbigay ng, for example, uh, adjust mo yung prompt. Sabi mo, ilagay mo, emphasizes neutrality. Tapos, assume it may be forwarded. Reduce detail on debate and focus on decisions and next step. Basta ganun. Role, context, audience. Role, context, audience. Output format. Constraint, tone, weakness, risk awareness. Ulitin natin ulit. Role assignment, context, specific task, tapos constraint and quality standards, output format. So, yun. Sabihin naman yun, meron pa siyang other suggestions sa baba. Pag sabihin mo, yung gusto mo the tone should be neutral or pwede mo i-change yun yung mga settings. Kumbaga, sabihin mo rin sa kanya, ano pa yung pwedeng, ask mo sa kanya, what are the other, ano yun, other sensitive information or topics that can be adjusted. Parang ganon. So, yun. Yun lang po. And, ang sunod ay, gawin natin yung scenario. Okay? Um, and we're back. And today we're going to explore a critical crisis management scenario that tests our decision-making skills and communication strategies under pressure. This is titled "What Would You Do?" and encourage you to think and how you would generally respond if faced with this situation. But before that, igano muna natin to, balikan muna natin to. I-cross out lang natin to kasi na cover na natin tong use AI tools to generate meeting summaries and capture action items. So, balik na tayo dito kay scenario. So, let's dive in. Um, the situation is you're managing a charity auction, an event, or that your organization has been planning for months. Everything is set, invitations are sent, people are excited, but 3 days before the event, disaster strikes. So the travel agency sponsoring your star prize 2 weekend getaways calls to inform you they're pulling out. Okay. Now this isn't any prize. This is likely one of your main attraction, something that's had been advertised and promoted. And you have just 72 hours to figure out what to do. Okay? The question isn't just what do you do, but also how do you communicate it. Both are critically equally critical. So tingnan natin yung options natin. We have four possible courses of action. Let's examine each one. So option A, send a quick Slack message to the whole team right now. So nagamit sila ng Slack. This option involves immediately notifying your entire team via Slack about the crisis. So now what's the assessment here? Ito ay flag as risk, specifically panic without a plan. So wala kang plano, nag-inform ka lang. Nagpanic ka, ito nangyari. And that makes sense, doesn't it? While transparency and quick communication are important, broadcasting a crisis without a solution can create chaos. Your team might panic, morale could drop, and you could end up with more problems than you started. Speed without strategy is rarely effective. Actually, tayo pag, di ba sa work, pag may problem, inform agad kahit walang, para ma-inform lang lahat na may problema. Baka may quick fix or we're expecting na, baka may quick fix yung iba if ever malaman nila yung problem. Ganyan. Ayun, ganun ang Pilipino eh. Yung, baka naman, oy, baka meron tayo dyan. Baka matulungan nyo kami, ganyan. Ganun. So, gano'n tayo sa B naman. Hold an emergency status update. Present natin yung risk and kung ano yung backup option. This option suggests organizing a structured meeting where you present both the problem and potential solution. This is marked as best, structured, and solution focused. Here's why this is the optimal approach. You're acknowledging the crisis agad, but you're also demonstrating leadership. You have thought ahead and you have backup plans. Backup plans. And you're bringing the team together to make an informed decision. So parang, ito na lang ay formality na lang na kung anong pipiliin doon sa backup plan. This builds confidence, maintains control, ensures everyone is aligned before moving forward. Ibig sabihin, you're showing authority and being control. Ibig sabihin may plan A, may plan B. This is crisis management done right. So, ibig sabihin, merong structure, may backup, walang problema kung mag-back out yung isa, merong nakaabang. Tapos, sa option C naman, escalate directly to the project sponsor in a stakeholder meeting. Valid naman siya. Yun nga lang, you have to have your senior support needed. This option involves going straight agad to your sponsor regarding the issue. The assessment says this is also valid, but notes that meron kailangang kasama na senior support. You cannot do it alone. This is interesting because it recognizes that someone you need to elevate issues quickly, especially when they involve major stakeholders or financial implications. However, I argue this works best when combined with option B. You should have your risk assessment and backup options ready before escalating. Don't just bring problem to your senior leadership. Bring problem with solutions. Tapos, wait and see if they change their mind before saying anything. This option suggests doing nothing and hoping the situation resolves itself. So, ito ay malabo pa sa malabong patis. This is marked as avoid delays response time. Walang mangyayari kung nakatayo ka lang. Galaw-galaw din. So, and rightfully so, in crisis management, time is your most valuable resource. Waiting and hoping is not a strategy, it's avoidance. With only 3 laps until the event, every hour counts. Delaying your response only limits your options, increase the risk of failure. Inaction is often worse than imperfect action. So, ano yung matututunan natin sa scenario na to? First, in a phrases, structured, structure beats speed. Don't just react, respond strategically. Mahirap yung nagre-react lagi. Better na you react with a plan or a backup plan or uh, you already have a solution on your mind. Second, communication must be solution-oriented. Never announce a problem without at least exploring potential solutions. So, kailangan um, hindi kayong tipong, pag in-announce ko to sa team, baka meron silang solution. Kasi wala na akong idea. I'm hoping na baka meron either a few or one can solve the problem if they were presented by the problem. Malabo. Know when to escalate. Pag alam mo na hindi mo kaya, you are limited with your standing, at kailangan mo ng managerial support, tumawag ka na. And finally, never wait for a crisis to resolve itself. May iba kasi na ang coping mechanism nila is to not do anything but hope for the best. Parang ganun. But that is wrong. Kailangan proactive tayo and you have to uh, make it work and have a solution before the deadline. So, to wrap this scenario, first of all, don't panic and cause chaos, which is option A. Don't hide and delay, option D. Escalating for senior support is valid and good strategy, which is option C. But the best approach is to take control, frame the problem, lead your team immediately towards the solution, which is letter B. This is really the core effective crisis communication. Stay calm, be structured, and always be solution focused. So kung yung price na 2 weekend getaway ayaw na ibigay ng travel agency, pero meron ka pang 3 days. 3 days, kaya pa to eh. Kaya pa tong humanap ng other. Pero mas maganda, next time, you have your backup. Pwede kang pero I don't think na I'm not sure pero kung magbubuka ng dalawang travel agency for backup, uh, possible or not. Pero if 3 days naman, kaya siguro kumuha pa ng another travel agency. Canvas lang. Uh, use AI to uh, look for travel agency offering the same weekend getaway. At the same time, kung ma-refund mo naman yung dineposit mo, di ba? Might as well uh, make it make it a contingency na may budget ka for contingency at para mabook mo rin itong backup na to and getaways. So, that's it. Welcome back everyone. Uh, Today, I'll be discussing a critical component of a successful project management, keeping stakeholders informed. As project managers, one of our most important responsibilities is communication. We all heard the saying, no surprises, and that's exactly what effective stakeholder communication achieves. Poor communication is consistently cited as one of the top reasons project fails. So mastering this skill is essential for our success. The framework I'm presenting you today breaks down stakeholder communication into 5 questions that will help you create a clear, effective communication strategy. Before we dive into each element, let's look at the big picture. An effective communication strategy answers 5 simple questions. Who needs to be informed? What information do they need? When should they receive it? How will we deliver it? And why is this communication important? Notice the key principle at the bottom of this framework. The best communication plans are simple, consistent, and tailored to its audience. Not one size fits all. This is crucial. What works for your executive sponsor won't necessarily work for your technical team or end users. Let's start with who. This question answers which stakeholders need to hear from you and how often. Not all stakeholders are created equal when it comes to communication needs. You need to 1. Identify your stakeholders, 2. Categorize them, and 3. Determine communication frequency. So, identify all your stakeholders. This includes sponsors, team members, customer end users, vendors, and anyone else impacted by or interested in your product. Second, categorize them. Consider using a stakeholder analysis matrix. So, high power, high interest stakeholders need frequent detailed communication, while low power, low interest stakeholders might just need periodic updates. So, ito siya. So, the third one, determine communication frequency. So, your executive sponsor might not need a weekly update, while broader organizational stakeholders may need only monthly summaries. The key here is personalization. Don't blast the same message to everyone. Segment your audience and tailor your approach. So, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-send to all. We have to categorize them, identify, categorize, and determine the communication frequency. So, yun yung important sa who. Yung stakeholders mo, you have to identify them, categorize them, then Determine the communication frequency. Next, we address what information stakeholders need. Specifically, progress updates, risk, decisions, or key milestones. This is where you need to think strategically about content. Progress updates. Most stakeholders want to know if you're on track with schedule, budget, and scope. Are you hitting your targets? Then, risk and issues. Transparency is critical. So don't hide problems. Communicate them early with proposed solutions. Stakeholders hate surprises, especially bad ones. So it's a reminder na pag may problem, inform them. At the same time, propose a solution. Don't come empty-handed. So next is decision. When key decisions need to be made or have been made, stakeholders need to know. This keeps everyone aligned and prevents rework. Then, key milestones. These are celebration moments and proof points that the project is moving forward. So remember, different stakeholders need different levels of detail. Your CFO cares about budget variance. Your technical lead cares about architectural decision and customize the content for each audience. So, ibig sabihin nga, not one size fits all. The third question is when? Weekly, bi-weekly, or triggered by key events? Timing is everything in communication. Regular cadence. Establish a predictable rhythm, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Consistency builds trust and set expectations. Stakeholders know when they'll hear from you. Event triggered communication. Some communications can't wait for the next scheduled update. These include critical risk or issues that emerge, major milestones, completions, significant scope or budget changes, and urgent decisions needed. Third, balance is key. Too frequent communication can lead to information overload and disengagement. Too infrequent creates anxiety and inform gaps. So, dapat balance lang siya. Pag sobrang daming GC na flood na siya, yung information, tinatamad ka na mag-backread. So, wag masyadong marami yung information na nag-overload na siya. Pag naman walang updates, ayun, hindi talaga siya rin okay kasi parang ano ba, buhay pa ba to or hindi na. Anyway, I recommend establishing your baseline cadence early in the project and documenting it in your communication. Then, honor that commitment. Now, let's talk about how you communicate. So, email, live meeting, dashboard, or quick messages. You have many tools at your disposal. Email are great for formal updates, documentation, and reaching large group. But it can get lost in crowded inboxes. So take note of that. Live meetings are best for complex discussions, decision making, and building relationships. Use this strategically. Not everyone needs to be in every meeting. Dashboards. Excellent for real-time visibility into project status. Stakeholders can check in when they want without waiting for your update. Aba, maganda to. Quick messages. Tools like Slack or Teams are perfect for rapid updates, question, or urgent issues. Ngayon, for this four, ay yung method na choose your method based on the following. Kung urgency of information, if it's fast, ito yung pinaka-fast quick message. Complexity of the message, complexity of the message, uh, some live meeting siya. Stakeholders preference and availability. Either dito naman sa apat na to. And the need for documentation. Pag naman yung documentation, preferably email, saka dashboards, pwede rin ang live meetings. Often, a combination approach works best. For example, a weekly dashboard update with bi-weekly meetings for deeper discussion. So, it's up to you. Pipili ka lang dito sa mga tools natin and choose mo kung ano yung method na gusto mong gawin based on this criteria. Okay? And finally, and perhaps the most important, why are we all doing this? We are doing this to build trust, prevent surprises, and drive past decisions. So, breakdown natin yun. Build trust, consistent, honest communication establishes you as a reliable and credible. When stakeholders trust you, they are more likely to support your project, give you resources, and advocate on your behalf. So, ito talaga yung pinaka-important yung tiwala. Prevent surprises. Nobody likes to be blindsided. When you communicate proactively, especially about the problems, you give stakeholders time to solve them rather than just react to consequences. So, walang hidden, transparent ka lang. At saka, kung magsusurprise ka, kailangan meron kang solution. Then, drive past decisions. Projects often stall waiting for decision. When stakeholders are well informed, they can make decisions quickly because they have context. They're not starting from scratch every time you need something. So, pareho kayo ng pacing ni stakeholder. Alam niyo yung nangyayari, alam niyo yung nangyayari sa site, sa field. So, kung ano man yung problema, makikita ninyo together. At the same time, makakapag-decision kayo. Yun lang, need nyo lang approval for the stakeholder. These three outcomes create a virtuous cycle. Trust leads to better collaboration, which prevents problems, which enables faster progress, which build more trust. If we deliver, our customers or our clients or stakeholders will trust us more. So, yun yung pinaka-important. So, let us return to that critical principle yung nasa baba. The best communication plans are simple, consistent, and tailored to its audience. Not one size fits all. What does this mean in practice? Simple. Do not overcomplicate it. A one-page status report is often more effective than a 20-page document no one reads. Simplihan lang natin ang buhay. Huwag natin pahirapan. Wala naman talaga nagbabasa ng report na 20 pages. One page is enough. Consistent. Same time, same format, same reliability. This builds expectations and habit. Pag lagi mong ginagawa, tama yung ginagawa mo, you have reliability, you're building reliability. Tailored. Pag kinostomize mo siya, your CEO needs different information than your technical architect. Customize both content and delivery method. Maganda yung customization. Maganda yung personalize yung reporting. Regardless kung sino yung stakeholder. Avoid the temptation to send the same update to everyone. It won't meet anyone's needs effectively. Pag nagsasend all to ka, tapos hindi mo kinikater or personalize yung update. Either ang tendency niyan, i-ignore siya nung recipient. Kasi thinking, it's generalized, it's for everyone. Hindi naman siya for me lang. But if you take it a little notch, na ito yung CFO natin, kailangan. Ito lang yung na-update niya. He will be anticipating it at the same time reading it at the same time. Kasi alam niya na para sa kanya lang yun. Kasi siya lang yung nakakaintindi nun. And the two of you are communicating in a professional context. Okay? To reinforce our learning, I will give you a practical application or example for a minute. So let me give you an example that may work in the practice, which is software implementation project. So for example, imagine you're managing a software implementation project. Your communication plan might look like this. So, who? Identify natin yung stakeholders. Executive sponsor, yung IT director, end users, department heads, and project team. Tapos, ano yung i-update natin sa kanila? Sponsor, get budget, and timeline status, and major decisions. So, yun yung communicate natin. IT director gets technical risk and resource needs. Tapos, department head gets training schedules and go live dates. Tapos, the project team get daily stand-up updates. So, isa-set naman natin kung ano yung frequency or interval ng update. So, sa sponsor, bi-weekly. Sa IT director, weekly. Sa department heads, monthly plus event triggered. Tapos sa team, araw-araw, daily. Ngayon, how? Ano yung tool? Ano yung tool na gagamitin natin? Anong platform? Sa sponsor, email, ang summary and monthly meeting. Sa IT director, nasa dashboard siya and weekly call. Department head, email lang. And sa team, nasa Slack. And sa mga meetings din. So, ilalagay lang natin yung why dito, yung reason. Kailangan keep everyone aligned, catch any issues early, and maintain momentum. Ngayon, see how each stakeholder gets what they need when they need it in the form that works best for them. So, ibig sabihin, yung how, kinater na sila para dun sa stakeholders. Ito na yung preferred nila na medium and nakikita mo rin naman, nandito na rin yung frequency or interval. So, ganito siya gawin. Ganito siya i-layout. Identify ano yung i-update, kailan, paano, at bakit. So, what, when, how, and why. Ito yung 5 elements in keeping our stakeholders informed. Conclusion, to wrap up, effective stakeholder communication isn't accidental. It's planned and intentional. By answering these 5 questions, you create a communication strategy that keeps everyone informed, engaged, and supportive. Remember, in project management, communication isn't just a nice to have. It's a fundamental to success. Invest the time to upfront to create your communication plan, and you'll save countless hours of confusion, rework, relationship repair later. And that's it. Welcome back. In the last section, we talked about the foundational questions of stakeholder communication. Who, what, when, how, and why. Now, let's take a practical tool that brings all those answers together in a single actionable document. The Stakeholder Communication Matrix. This matrix is a project manager's best friend. Its purpose is to map every audience to the right message, channel, and cadence ensuring that our communication is intentional and effective and not just an afterthought. So, as you can see on the screen, the matrix is a simple grid. It's designed to be easy to build and easy to read. Let's break down the columns, which you'll notice directly corresponds to the questions we just discussed. Stakeholder. This is our who. We list the different groups or individuals who have a stake in our project. Information needed. This is our what. It defines what the specific content each stakeholder group cares about. Notice how different this is for each group. Channel. This is our how. It specifies the method we'll use to deliver the information, whether it's a meeting, an email, or dashboard. Frequency. And finally, this is our when. It set the cadence for our communications, creating a predictable rhythm. The real power of this matrix comes from filling it out, customizing it for your project. So, pwede mo siyang gawing template, ah, ililista mo lang dito para meron ka ng map. So, this slide gives us a fantastic and generalized example of how this matrix works in practice. Let's walk through it row by row to understand the logic. For our project team, the people doing the work day to day, what do they do? Tactical information, tag, task progress, blockers, and decisions. They need to know what to work and what's stopping them. How do we deliver? A status update meeting, like a daily stand-up or a weekly sync. This allows for real-time problem solving and collaboration. How often? Weekly at a minimum, often daily for core teams. High frequency is key for the core delivery team. Then, next, the project sponsor. This is often the person funding the project. What do they need? They care about the big picture, the budget, milestones, risk, changes. Is the project healthy? Are we on track to deliver? How do we deliver it? A concise email, summary paired with a brief meeting. This respects their busy schedule while allowing for question. How often? Bi-weekly. This frequent enough to keep them engaged without overwhelming them with daily details. Tapos, senior leadership. Think of the BPs or the C-suite. What do they need? An even higher level view. Strategic impact and resource needs. How does this project align with the company goal? Do they need to unblock something for us at an organizational level? How do we deliver it? Formal stakeholder meeting or steering committee. How often? Monthly. They don't need operational details, just a periodic check-in on the strategic alignment and major progress. External partners, vendors and consultants. What do they need? They need focus on their specific piece of the puzzle, deliverable status, and next actions. What do we need from them and what they can expect from us? How do we deliver it? Via an email or shared document like a Google Doc or a shared SharePoint site. It's perfect for this. It's efficient and creates a paper trail. How often? As needed. Their involvement may be concentrated in certain project phases, so communication is triggered by specific needs or events. And finally, end users or the public, the people who will ultimately use the product or be impacted by the project. What do they need? They need to know what's changing, what's the benefit, and the timeline. This is about managing change and setting expectation. How do we deliver it? Broad, one-way communication channel like announcement, a newsletter, or update on company portal. How often? Key milestone. For example, when a feature is launching or a new system is about to go live. Now, I want you to draw your attention to the most important piece of practical advice on this slide. Right at the bottom. Uh, Build this matrix at kickoff, then update it whenever stakeholders or scope change. This is not a set and forget it document. It's a living tool. Build it at kickoff. You should create the first version of this matrix as part of your initial planning. It forces you to think intentionally about the communication from day one. So day one pa lang. Project kickoff. Ayan. Nasaan ang project kickoff? Nasa unahan. It forces you to think intentionally about communication from day one. Tapos update it. Projects are dynamic. A new stakeholder might join, a risk might become an issue, requiring more frequent updates to leadership. The scope might change. When these things happen, you must revisit and adjust your communication matrix. Pag daw may mga pagbabago, may mga bagong dumarating, you just have to adjust and change it frequently. A stale communication plan is almost as bad as no plan at all. Keeping it current ensures it remains relevant and useful throughout the project lifecycle. So in conclusion, the stakeholder communication matrix is simple yet powerful tool that operationalize your communication strategy. By defining the who, what, how, and when for your audience, you can reduce noise by sending the right information to the right people, increase efficiency by using the appropriate channels, build trust and alignment by setting clear expectations, and ultimately drive project success by ensuring everyone stays informed and engaged. I highly recommend you use a matrix like this in your next project. It will make your job as a project manager significantly easier and more effective. And thank you. To bring everything we've discussed today together, I want to leave you with this final slide. 5 things to take back to your work today. We covered the why and the how of project communication, from identifying stakeholders to building a communication matrix. But theory is only useful when it's put into practice. These 5 points are simple, powerful habits that will immediately make you a more effective project manager and communicator. So let's walk through them. First, knowing your meeting type and run each one deliberately. We have all been in meetings that felt aimless. That's often because the organizer didn't define its purpose. A project has several distinct types of meeting. A kick-off is for generating excitement, building alignment, and setting the rules of engagement. Status update is tactical, focus on progress, and unblocking the team. Stakeholder meeting is strategic, focus on demonstrating value and securing support. And a retrospective is a reflection and process improvement. You wouldn't use a hammer to turn a screw. Likewise, you can run a stakeholder meeting with the same agenda and tone as a daily stand-up. By being deliberate about the meeting's purpose, you ensure everyone shows up with the right mindset and you achieve your desired outcome. Our second takeaway is non-negotiable in professional project management. Every meeting needs an agenda and it must be shared before the meeting. Handing out an agenda as people walk in the door is too late. It is a sign or poor planning. Sharing an agenda 24 hours in advance does two critical things. One, it sets expectations. Attendees know what will be discussed and what decisions need to be made and how they can contribute. Second, it allows people to prepare. It transforms attendees from a passive audience into active and prepared participants. An agenda is your roadmap for the meeting. It is the single best tool for keeping a discussion on track, on time, and productive. No agenda, no meeting. Uwi na. And third, and this is crucial, action items are true output of any meeting. A meeting that ends without clear action items was just a conversation. A productive meeting ends with commitments. Every time you must capture the who does what by when, who, assign a single specific owner. The team is not an owner. What, define the task clearly. By when, set a realistic date. This framework creates accountability. It how you turn discussion into progress. As a project manager, your job isn't just to run the meeting, but to ensure the work gets done after the meeting. Then, number 4 brings us into the modern era of project management. AI can transform your meeting follow-up. One of the most time-consuming tasks for a project management is summarizing notes and sending out a recap. Today, AI tools can do the heavy lifting for you. Tools like Microsoft Copilot, Otter AI, and Phantom can automatically transcribe your meeting, draft a concise summary, and identify and list out the action items we just talked about. This frees you, the project manager, to focus on the human elements of the meeting, facilitating discussion, reading the room, and building consciousness. Instead of having your head down taking notes, embrace these tools to become more efficient and effective. 5, and the last, communicate early and to the right audience, especially when things go sideways. Bad news does not get better with time. Hiding a problem is one of the fastest ways to lose credibility and trust. When you encounter a significant risk or issue, your first instinct should be to communicate. Communicate early, communicate to the right audience. Communicate early, this gives stakeholders time to process the information and help you find solution. Communicate to the right audience, a major issue needs to go to your sponsor, not broadcast to the entire company. Use your communication matrix to guide you. Proactive communication, especially with bad news, builds immense trust. It shows you are in control and turns stakeholders from potential critics into partners into solution. So to recap, final recap, run your meetings with a clear purpose. Always use an agenda. Drive to clear action items. Leverage AI to be more efficient and communicate early when there's trouble. These five habits, when practiced consistently, will set you apart as a reliable, strategic, and successful project manager. And thank you.